Okay, for those who are tuning back in, that was a fuck up.
Yeah. So, picking up where we left off, what I want to kind of talk about now is one of these various death to gamers article, the death of gamers articles. And this is one I responded to myself.
Right.
This is by a gentleman named Devin Wilson. He's writer for Gamasutra. It's a guide to ending gamers. So what basically the premise of this article is like, these are the things that need to change in order for gamers, for gaming to get better. Because apparently gaming right now is this racist, sexist, toxic entire thing.
Kind of entity.
Exactly. So here's my thing. A lot of these assertions that are coming from this article are just plain not true. Like, let's look at number 2. We listen to those who are less privileged than we are. We support them, we involve them, and we don't ignore them when institutions fail to do these things. That's something that kind of hits me personally, because throughout my almost 20 years of gaming, I've never been excluded from anything because of my race. I've never seen any women excluded because they're women. I mean, I don't see this stuff going on. Where, like, when I was a kid, I was playing Halo 2. Right next door to me lived this girl, and we played Halo 2 together, and it wasn't a big deal. The Geeky Panda, he's basically my Halo rival. He's Asian. It's not a big deal.
Right, and when I was growing up, I played Super Mario Brothers and Contra and stuff with one of the neighbor girls.
Yeah, and it wasn't a big deal.
No, it like wasn't even something that even came to mind, really.
No.
It was just two people playing a video game.
Hey, let's get together. Let's play video games.
They like games. I like games. We got cookies or whatever, and
yeah, there's nothing complex about that. It's just like I don't yeah, and that's why it's so. That's why that particular point just really got to me so bad, because this is me he's talking about. We listen to those who are less privileged than we are. This is me he's talking about. This is the black people, the Asian people, the women, all these less privileged groups, and we've never been excluded from these gaming circles. Ever.
I mean,
I've
never seen it.
I was at the fucking video game club at my college. Diverse set of people. Extremely diverse.
Should point out that trash talking is not exclusion per se.
Trash talking is what
it happens.
Do.
I mean,
it happens. If you don't like trash talk,
don't play those kind of games.
Find people who don't like trash talk with you.
Or find groups that have like a hold on it, if you will.
There are plenty. And what, like, I get up and I go and we'll go to the video game club, and it'll be me and the Panda, and we'll play Halo, and we'll talk trash, and it's all good. And neither of us care about anyone's race. That's never a factor. Never was a factor. I've never, ever been excluded from anything in gaming because I'm black. That's ridiculous. And the fact that so many of these journalists insist that gaming is just, oh, it's all straight white guys, all that. The insistence of that erases my experience from it, and that's when it gets personal for me. Because I've been gaming for almost 20 years, and does that means, apparently it means nothing, because they're trying to create this narrative. They're trying to do this revisionist history shit, and I get thrown out the window because they need to craft this narrative of gaming being all these misogynistic straight white guys who they're trying to be exclusionist. Gaming has been the most inclusionist thing, one of the most inclusionist fandoms I've seen in my entire life. And, you know, sometimes that's a negative thing, but for the most part, it's positive.
Yeah, it sounds like to me this is just kind of a convenience thing for them.
Absolutely. It's easy for them to craft a story about, oh, all these straight white guys. It could be, and especially nowadays with all this social justice stuff going around and invading everything, especially
Tumblr
nowadays.
speak and all that crap. Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is if you hold certain viewpoints that have nothing to do with games or anything, they'll kind of label you a certain way.
Absolutely.
This happened kind of humorously enough in our anime fandom. When you were having... it's happened to you more than once.
Oh, absolutely. Because here's the thing. When people can only see what you type, that get to a certain extent that they will judge you and judge your character and even judge your appearance based on what you type. So for a while, a lot of people in the anime fandom thought I was this straight white guy. Turns out it's not the case. And a lot of people were real surprised about that. And it was dumb because they made an assumption and they were incorrect.
A lot of backpedaling.
A lot of backpedaling. And the backpedaling happens in the anime fandom, but in the gaming community right now, they're not even backpedaling. They're pushing further. If you're a woman and you're supporting Gamergate, then you're a sock puppet, or you're betraying women, or
you've been paid, like or even more ludicrous, you've been paid off.
Yeah.
I actually saw a blurb that somebody popped up that basically said, "Well, how much are they paying you for this?" And I was just like, "Wow."
It's ridiculous. They double down on They double down on the insults. They double down on the presumptions, because it's like they're backed into a corner and they're lashing out now.
Oh, I mean, there's no question they're in death rattle mode.
They're flailing, and that's something that I just love to watch when negative people encounter positivity so overwhelming that it's starting to eat into their negativity. They start to flail.
But that's not the worst of it.
Oh, absolutely not.
One thing that hasn't been pointed out, I mean, by us, I mean, certainly anybody who's been watching it as closely as we have probably have already put these together, but there have been some really outrageous things, just like rumors and plans of ways to get the evil gamers. And some of these are actually criminal, by the way. I mean, not even just like kind of in a gray area, outright. You could probably take them to the local authorities, and they'd be looking at it, with a critical eye. One of which I remember seeing was outright calls for execution, which, I'm not sure if that was meant to be in jest. I don't think it was.
I don't think it was.
There was no goofy emoticons or anything to hint that, and hashtags kill all men, typical classy. Fun stuff from classy social justice warriors. Another one I saw, and this one was earlier. This was probably the most outrageous one. The one who compared the women involved in this that were siding with the gamers as being like indentured servants.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Like, I didn't know whether I should be offended about the sexism or the racism of that tweet.
Like, just.
But that's the level it's gotten to with the detractors. All they can do is flail around and post this it gets more ridiculous as it goes on.
Oh yeah, to some degree, I'm looking forward to what happens a few days from now, just to see how absolutely insane some of these mental gymnastics are getting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go ahead and put this out there. I've been playing video games since I was about roughly 6, and I'm going to be 31 pretty soon. So yeah, I'm a dinosaur. That's a long time. Yeah. And I am going to admit I kind of bowed out from the social aspect of gaming somewhere around the PlayStation 2 era, and that wasn't that wasn't even I wasn't getting along with other people type thing. That was just a natural kind of the type of games I play are mostly single player.
Right.
And but I will say that forums have become so hostile, you don't want to go to them.
I talk about how bad anime forums are all the time. I can't even bring myself to post on gaming forums. And to a certain extent, it's because everything kind of devolves into this social justice sort of thing. And that's one reason that I don't post on anime forums either. Because everything has got to revolve around, in the modern era of really, at this point, it's a whole lot of fandoms at this point. In the modern era, everything devolves into this social justice argument about, oh, well, it can't be about, we can't talk about the games anymore. We have to talk about how oppressed XYZ is because of the games they play.
And, I mean, as much of a dick as it makes me sound, I mean, most gamers don't care about that. They don't want to hear about that shit. They want to hear about games.
Yeah.
I mean, that might make them evil pieces of crap to you, but it doesn't make them wrong.
Here's the thing about gaming, gaming as a concept and as a community. The reason these people can't thrive here, the reason that it's easier for social justice people, it would be easier for them to take over anime than games. The reason for that is because gaming is a meritocracy.
Certainly. And not only that, but at least in modern times, the gaming world actually, at least in America, is bigger. It just is.
It's massive.
Yeah, I mean, pure numbers, not even close.
It's poised to soon become the largest entertainment industry.
Right, and this is interesting because I watched a medium. Now, granted, there were things clearly before I was into it, the Commodore 64 and various Atari, and that kind of stuff, and certainly pinball and these kind of games. But the original NES is when I got into it, and now we're seeing, the Wii U, the PS4, Xbox One,
right,
etc., and a plethora of handhelds. I mean, I'm not even going to try to name all those that have been released in the last couple of years. But the point is, I remember when there was just this one gray box in my living room, and I remember foolishly blowing into these cartridges trying to make them work, which, a little hint, it didn't do shit. Only in retrospect did I realize that. But, that was a niche hobby back then when I was into it. It was very... It's not that it was exclusive. It was almost like, hey, when you admit you played this stuff, that you were basically saying, hey, I'm an outcast.
Exactly.
And it really was like that.
It's a community built by social outcasts.
I mean, shit. I mean, that's not to say there weren't other people that I didn't play video games and stuff with, but at the same time, if you went to school talking about this stuff, I mean, there were a couple other people that shared the same but a lot of people didn't, and
Yep.
they just looked at you like, ooh, or
Exactly.
you play video games? What a
Exactly.
loser.
Yep.
I dealt with that when I was young. That really started to change around the PlayStation N64 era. That I saw a lot of change there. I saw a lot more people coming in.
Yep.
But the 8-bit, 16-bit, all the way up to the 32 to 64-bit, that it was still it was a nerdy thing.
Yeah.
If you played video games, you were a nerd. I mean,
Exactly.
there was nothing else about it, Unless you played like hunting simulations or something like that. Yeah, you played, Super Mario Brothers or, Sonic the Hedgehog or anything like that. You were a dork.
Yep.
And the magazines kind of actually acknowledged this. Just the way people wrote and the way they marketed ads. If I need to bring up that horrible fucking ad where the guys with their asses hanging out. I'll never forget that ad, and thanks to VZ, I definitely never will, because he burned it back into my skull. But the point is, these were not, what's the right word? I don't want to say they were immature, certainly some of them were, but they were aimed at a certain personality.
Yeah. It was kind of like the inmates running the asylum.
Right, exactly. And something interesting happened, a big change. Once magazines started to kind of die out, and the kind of things magazines brought to us were being supplied kind of through the internet instead, the blogs, the news sites, excuse me, and all that crap. We saw a change in kind of management, really.
Yep.
All the people that we used to listen to who were gamers too. I mean, the reviewers themselves played these things. I mean, they weren't just like people that were outside of the the circle. These people actually, the reason we took them seriously is because they knew what they were talking about.
Exactly.
When they told us this thing had really cool game mechanics and stuff, we believed them because they could actually articulate what they meant by that. They could tell us all the little bells and whistles and ins and outs, And if you look at any game review now, you don't see that. You see things that have nothing to do with the game or gaming at all in a lot of cases.
That's it. And when I read game reviews, which is rarely,
I cannot blame you.
I tend to go more towards smaller, more niche, independent blogs because they know what they're talking about and they know how to articulate this stuff to the people who actually play these games.
I've noticed that with forums too. Like, if you go to a specific, like a Castlevania forum, specifically a Castlevania forum, just for example, or a I don't know, an Ace Combat forum. Something for you.
Like Oratan, the Virtual on Oratorio Tangram forum.
Or, I don't know, a Tales forum, if you know what I mean. You're gonna see a lot less of this kind of shit. And I think it's because it's so concentrated.
When it's here's the issue, and here's sort of one of the big things. It's barriers to entry. When you have a large community with no barriers to entry, you're gonna get some of these people who don't really jive with the rest of the community. When you have this barrier to entry, like if you're on Oratan, then you obviously play Virtual On. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there. If you're on the Ace Combat forum, you obviously play Ace Combat. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there.
Right, and I think that kind of ties into what I said too, because like no one's going to hang out on a Castlevania forum if they don't like those games.
Exactly.
There's no point. what is there for you to discuss or for any kind of interaction there?
Right. So we started to get these reviews where there's elements of the review that have nothing to do with the game, and those that affects the overall assessment of the game. There's people who don't know what they're talking about, and a lot of then this is one of the other real big things about Gamergate is a lot of the people doing these reviews are sort of in with the individuals who are making these games.
Yeah, major conflict of interest here.
It's like we saw this back in 2007, I believe it was, when Jeff Gerstmann was fired from GameSpot after his sort of negative review of Kane and Lynch while that website was running Kane and Lynch ads.
Right.
So this has been going on for a while now.
Right. This corruption isn't new, per se.
It's not new, but it's reached a head at this point, and especially conflated with the social justice thing, especially conflated with all these articles about gaming's dead and all this contempt for the people who consume their media that they write. It's reached a head at this point, and it's erupted into this movement we see now.
I've never seen anything like it.
This is unprecedented, and this has renewed my faith in gaming.
To an extent, yeah. I honestly think people are just tired of bullshit and inconsequential crap that's extraneous.
Exactly. They're tired of the bullshit, and they're not gonna take it anymore.
When someone's calling you worse than somebody that beheads somebody for fucking a video game you're playing.
When a journalist is calling you is saying you're worse than a terrorist organization that beheads journalists, there's a huge problem.
Other fun things, and if you look at these arguments, and they're not really arguments, I'm using that word for a lack of a better one. It really is just like this weird, wiry kind of ad hominem just flailing.
Yeah, they don't have any real arguments against what's going on. So, hey, let's just insult these people, because why not? Because what else can we do?
Well, they're using these really these really kind of crude. I wouldn't say, maybe not crude, but underhanded tactics. Basically, calling people like just really large, sweeping generalizations. Like misogynists or bigots.
Which is hilarious, because these are the kind of people who are supposed to be on the side of social justice, but are, by calling you're a bunch of straight white guys, they're erasing all the women who have been gamers for forever, all people like me who have been gamers forever, all people like the Geeky Panda who have been gamers forever. They've gone so far off the deep end that they're starting to come out the other side now.
That's an interesting way to look at it. I kind of think of it as a chicken running around with its head cut off. Basically, its head being cut off was basically the story breaking open.
Yep.
And basically, they're flailing around. They're running until they're just going to fall over eventually. We're basically seeing, and here's the other thing: we're seeing people trying to manufacture problems where there are none.
Yeah.
I mean, even just in the wake of this happening.
I mean, even if you look back to the article that I responded to, all of these issues that he brings up have already been solved. We don't wait until the next big thing for gaming to mature and grow up. Gaming's already mature. As a matter of fact, no, it's not. It's not mature, and we'll keep it that way. because mature means that there's nowhere left to go. We listen to the people less privileged than we are. We do. Broader interests as individuals. Have you ever met a gamer who all he does is play video games and that's it? Not into anything else?
Very rarely. I mean, they're out there. They are.
Yeah, certainly they're out there, and there's also people out there who just watch TV and do nothing else.
But here's the thing: if that's all they're doing, they're not out there causing any trouble for you.
Hey, all they're doing is playing games. That's it.
I think Carlin was the guy who said that you show me a lazy prick who sits in his basement jerking off watching game shows all day, and I'll show you someone who's not causing any fucking trouble.
Exactly. Play and make fewer isolating games. I don't. Is it just me? I'm not comfortable with this terminology. We make fewer X games.
Like, yeah. Like.
Because my thing is, like, there's room for everything.
Well, sure there is. When you say there's not, you're basically, ironically somewhat, excluding people with different tastes.
Yeah. They're treating gaming like a zero-sum game, where if we want more of one thing, we have to make less of another thing, and that's just not the case. Especially with game development being so easy as it is now.
I mean, let's be honest, the person who likes Grand Theft Auto might not like Final Fantasy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And vice versa. And then there's people who like both of those.
Yep.
I mean, you know.
So, I mean, that's my fault. Play and make fewer of a particular kind of game just doesn't sit well with me, because it looks at gaming as a thing where one person has to lose for someone else to win.
Yeah, basically, I understand what you're getting.
If I like playing Call of Duty, and we got to get more highbrow or whatever games, then and Call of Duty has to go away. Now I'm sad.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can't please all the people all the time. But you can piss everybody off at the same time. Exactly.
Become more mindful of the games we make and play.
Yeah. I don't know. There are certain groups of people out there, and I know them. I've come across them in person as well, and I can't wrap my head around them at all. that they think any kind of media you consume reflects upon your person or your character. And that to me, just, like, I can't get behind that.
That's an alien concept to me.
Exactly. Like,
I can't fathom that.
Like, I love playing, you know, I don't know, let me think of a, I don't know. I used to like playing Nightmare Creatures and all kinds of other violent, you know. But the funny thing is I'm not a violent person by any means. Like at all. I mean, I'm not out at the shooting range every day, or you know, or even like. Well, okay, well, I did have a punching bag at one point, but but the point is, though, you know, I'm not getting in fights with people, and physically at least.
Yeah.
You know, and the same thing's true with I don't know, JRPGs or something. You know, they complain about, you know, women in scantily clad, you know, armor or something. It's like, yeah, okay, because that's realistic, you know.
Yeah, it promotes real life sexism to them.
You would see a girl actually walking around under the sun in this kind of fucking material, you know, and if you did, you probably would stare, but not for the reason they're saying.
It's like a critical eye towards the esports scene and the accompanying machismo. Can't stand that word. Can't stand machismo. What else? Pandering. Jingoism is another word. It's these words that you only ever hear when someone wants to make a negative point about something. You can use. There's a plethora of different words you can use, but they gotta pick that word because it has that negative connotation.
Another word like that is banal.
But not can't. And this kind of language is everywhere with these individuals. Everywhere.
It's almost as if they're all in this big circle and they all use the same rhetoric.
Yeah.
Which I mean, you know, if you look at their articles, this
in like 48 hours, so it's beginning to look a lot like that's the case.
I mean, you know, there is no conspiracy. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Exactly.
But we're going to keep you from looking behind the curtain in every way possible. In fact, we're going to keep you out of this room. You know, with a giant bloody skull on the door. Do not enter.
Here's another thing. Here's another one I had a real big problem with. We stop upholding fun as the universal ultimate criterion for a game's relevance.
What kind of empty, miserable fucking person would say that?
I mean, really? It's got to be pro-social, edifying.
Healing. Exactly. Like, who the fuck plays video games for this?
Who plays any games for that? Okay, tell me what is edifying about patty cake? Tell me what's edifying about Duck Duck Goose. Why do people play Duck Duck Goose? Is it enlightening? You know, learn something from that?
Pinball?
It's
go to the arcades.
Why do we play games? It's a recreation. It's an amusement.
When you bring this up,
some of us it's a challenge. Some of us it's a career. But
right.
If I'm not having a good time playing your game, I don't give a fuck about what your message is. I don't give a fuck how edifying or pro-social. What does that even mean? I don't give a damn. Make your game fun first, and that's number one.
Okay.
If I don't want to play your game, if I don't think I'm gonna have a good time playing your game, and you can have the most enlightening, you can have the Dalai Lama of video games, and nobody's gonna care. Nobody.
Zen in the art of pixelation. But yeah, I know what you're saying. And there was another in that same actual little spiel that fun is a neurological trick. like what the fuck? Dude, it's like, fun is just chemicals bouncing around in your brain. Yeah, and grass is green. So is every other emotion you've ever had. Love, for instance. These aren't real, tangible things, To me, it's... And the other thing was something along the lines, I don't even know if it was from that particular paragraph, but it mentioned that, there are plenty of things that are fun but unhealthy for you.
Yeah, plenty of categorically unhealthy things are fun.
Okay, yeah, but isn't that personal responsibility?
If something that's fun for you is unhealthy, that's on you.
You like if you love to smoke or I don't know, ski with your dick out in the wind or whatever. I mean,
that's up to you. Like
that's all on you.
It's not
it's not other people's job to fucking police you.
We don't need anyone to start policing how other people have fun.
That is absolutely batshit crazy. And it sounds crazy.
And the idea that we stop, we take fun down from number one, that's ludicrous. Because everyone's gaming to have fun.
And fun is certainly in the eye of the beholder.
Certainly. It's 100% subjective, but that's the point. Hey, I have fun getting up at 8 in the morning and spending the next 8 hours of the day playing X3 Terran Conflict. Other people that might not be very fun. That might be extremely boring, and I 100% understand that. But that's fun.
They're not you.
They ain't me. Some people might like playing a racing game like StarCraft. That's them.
Sorry, I'm smirking over here.
Yeah. But I'm not a fan. That fun to me isn't clicking around the map like crazy trying to build up my build order and stuff and get my units out. That's something that I'm not very good at. It's not fun for me playing against a person who's able to do that better than me. It's basically everyone is. That's not very fun for me. I don't do that. But I'll sit there for 2 hours trying to beat my high score in Virtual On, and that's fun for me.
Right, and I totally understand. There are ridiculous, like a lot of games that I can just beat, and have been able to for a long time. I still play them either because they're really fun, or I find other things to make them interesting.
Yep.
High scores, no hits, no deaths. I don't know, speed. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you can do with these kind of things. But beyond all that, that was a funny thing that you mentioned that and that this became an actual bullet point of sorts. Because when we were talking about anime one time, I made that joke. I was like, these people have an aversion to fun,
Yeah.
and it was kind of an off the cuff, joking kind of thing. But it seems like it's fucking true.
Turns out some people really have an aversion to at least the idea of fun being the point. They want something else to be the point.
That doesn't sit well with me at all.
I will resist that with the entire fabric of my being. As far as gaming goes, that's ridiculous.
I mean, a statement like that almost sounds like it should be on Play for Real. Gamers no longer
really
allowed
does.
to have fun. Says local jackass, You know what I mean? Like if you were to tell somebody that doesn't even play games that, they would just probably stare at you.
Yeah.
Like okay, games aren't supposed to be fun.
And that's the thing. If you go outside this fandom, outside this community, and talk to people who don't even play video games, what's the point of games? Oh, it's to have fun.
I mean,
That's why,
nobody
people
plays
play hide and seek.
Nobody plays Monopoly or Scrabble, for to see how long we can keep the game going.
Yeah, exactly.
That's Risk.
But I mean, it's like, here's another one that I had a real problem with. We don't afford any credence to the idea that games are just for fun. Games are not neutral.
Games are not alive either.
Every game has to take a political stance now, or every game has to have a political stance imposed on it now. Right.
Let's retroactively start putting political messages in old video games.
Exactly. And a lot of this stuff is just abandonment of where games have come from, and where a lot of this stuff originated.
Oh sure, the humor is okay. Let's be honest here. Most at least console games are from Japan, or at least they were in the infancy of the medium. Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, a lot of those games came from the arcade too.
Well, yes, they did. And in the case of Japan, you can't blame that on straight white males. That just sounds fucking stupid.
That's dumb.
I mean, there's some white people in Japan, but most of them are probably not working in the gaming industry, and certainly weren't in the 80s and early 90s. It's ludicrous.
And this is if Virtua Cop came out today, there would be the shitstorm would be galactic. Oh, you play two policemen to just go in and shoot everyone. What happened to due process?
Talk about missing the point of... Yeah, I mean, or how about just beat 'em up games for all that matter?
Yeah.
Like Streets of Rage or something like that.
These games that come from the arcade, they don't have time for a political agenda.
Okay,
they have 60 seconds of attract mode time to get you to want to play the game, and that's it. and now you're picking up the light gun and just shooting criminals for 3 levels and stuff. That they don't. Not this. In this part of this is this shift towards a focus on narrative, that everything's got to be narrative driven now. Everything's got to have this big story now. We're at a stage where the whole thing is just everything's focused on narrative. And if you look at all the stuff with the social justice and all that, that's all focused on narrative too. Nothing's focused on gameplay anymore. And that's why I tend to go towards the more niche blogs and the more niche stuff, because they talk about the game mechanics, and that's what I want to talk about. That's what I want to focus on. That's what a lot of gamers want to focus on. But the focus is shifted somewhere else because the people in these higher up levels, they have this agenda, and they want to push this agenda more than they want to actually, write about games, write about the way these games are.
And let's be honest, a lot of these newcomers, so to speak, from the last 5 or so years, didn't come in through video games.
No.
And it's very obvious they did not. Just by some of the things they say. Or the way they frame certain things. And just for amusement, we got a little bit of a comment here. What's the political stance of Gradius?
Exactly, like...
Tougher airport security? Don't fire lasers while in a confined space.
It's like you're just a spaceship shooting things, and that's it.
But yeah, I mean, and in my case, when I used to rent a lot of games, because what can I say? I saved money to buy those 2 or 3 ones I really wanted. A lot of them didn't come with instruction books. There was no story to speak of that wasn't already in the game. Yeah, they're kind of built in already. And in some games, I had no idea what the hell I was even doing other than you're in this situation, do stuff.
Exactly.
Now, granted, in some cases, that actually was kind of shitty because I didn't know what to do. And others, I still figured it out, and beat the game in some cases, and still had no idea what the hell I was doing. I mean, as far as a narrative is concerned, because they're, I don't know, like if you're dumped off in Fester's Quest, or whatever the fuck, and you don't have like any kind of background or an instruction manual or some kind of preface to why you're doing anything, you kind of have to wing it.
Yep, and to a certain extent, it really didn't matter.
No, not really. I mean, okay, a lot of people complain about the damsels in distress, trope, as it were. And to me, okay, I'll give some credence to the fact that it's pretty lazy. It is.
Certainly.
In this day and age, that is a lazy trope. Sure it is. But in most cases, it's really not meant to be sinister.
No.
It's lazy. It's giving you a reason to be doing what you're doing.
You have 30 to 60 seconds to establish some kind of baseline story for this arcade game, and you can't do anything complex. You got to do something real basic. So what's the most basic thing? The person you love is captured.
Okay. And again, there are a lot of things that could be brought into this conversation that are well beyond the scope of this podcast, by the way.
Certainly.
But yeah, in the case of arcades, I mean, there simply is no other way to market this kind of stuff, because you have, again, at most like 30 seconds of screen time running of a demo, of somebody to be passing by and see it and be interested.
Exactly.
Now with console games, which some of those are ports.
Yep.
But a lot of them are not. And okay, Mario rescuing Princess Peach, which is a really common one. Okay, from And here's the weirdest thing: when you really break that down, it really starts to sound like someone's drug-addled fever dream. Like okay, an Italian plumber goes into this. Just bear with me for a minute. Goes into this magical kingdom where talking mushrooms, a giant fucking dragon turtle thingamajig. Kidnaps a princess who doesn't appear to be a mushroom, by the way. Appears to be human, like Mario. You collect coins that you never spend, except for in certain different Mario games, like like the RPG or something like that. But in the basic ones, you don't. All right. I mean, you get an extra life if you get 100. That's pretty much the universal standard. You go down pipes, which I get that. That's the plumber thing, right? But giant piranha plants come out of them. You're being chased around by like jellyfish, fish that shoot out of the water and try to grab you off of a bridge. I mean, insert a Steve Irwin joke here, but
it's ridiculous. It's this cartoony world.
You're putting your real life, like, I don't even know how to even phrase what I'm trying to get at here. You're putting your world views onto a world that's not real. 2, it's so ridiculous that trying to put them on there seems absurd.
And they're trying to construe it in such a way that this thing makes some kind of political statement or social statement or something like that.
I mean, Donkey Kong, it's racist. I think I actually heard somebody say that at one point.
Really?
And I'm like,
I'm disappointed,
why?
But not surprised.
How is it racist? Okay, think about this. A giant monkey steals Mario's girlfriend, or Jumpman, as he was known back in the day. He rolls barrels at you that you try to club with hammers and dodge. I mean, how can you possibly equate this to real life?
It's these ridiculous mental gymnastics that these people have to go through because they have to insert some kind of socio-political agenda or topic into this thing.
And in a lot of cases, it's not there.
And they got to do it because that's the way they operate.
I mean, for those who are listening who haven't done any real or haven't encountered a lot of these people, check out Atheism Plus.
Oh man! And now we're talking.
You want to talk about
Gamer Plus now too.
You want to talk about some nut jobs.
And here's the crux of the issue. They come into these spaces, and they try to make it not about what the space is about,
but about them.
But about them.
It's incredibly narcissistic.
Oh, absolutely. They come in and they say, okay, we come into gaming and it's like, okay, it's not about the games anymore. It's about
Hobby Lobby, or like,
exactly.
like what the fuck? Yeah,
it's about sexism and misogyny, and they have to construct all these narratives like gamers are straight white dudes universally, and in doing that, they have to throw a lot of other people under the bus to forward their agenda, and that's the problem.
I mean, no one, okay, with exception of a couple assholes, and I'm not going to say they're not there. I mean, with any group, there's going to be some douchebags.
Certainly.
No matter how you slice it. But, I mean, for the most part, nobody cares if you have a weird kink or like, or some kind of, I don't know, what's the word I want to look for? Or you have an unusual, sexuality or something like that. If you like playing the games and stuff, nobody cares.
Listen, I don't care if you're man, woman, transgender, I don't care,
robot,
something like that. Anything black, Hispanic, Asian, I don't care. If I need a tail gunner in Tribes 2, you better be a damn good tail gunner. If you cover me while I'm running the flag in Halo, I don't care who you are. That's the whole thing. It's a meritocracy. You rise to the top by doing, not by feeling, not by playing the victim. You can't get carried to the top in gaming. You have to rise to the top. I didn't get to 2,000 something out of damn near 40,000 people worldwide in Virtual On by whining and playing the victim. No, I played my ass off, and I did the damn best I could, and I got to that score, and that's the culmination of hours and hours and hours of gameplay. I had to work to get there. You have to put in the work in order to get to the top in gaming. If people talk about, oh, we need more women in game development. Plenty of them. There are plenty of them out there. Download Game Maker. Start. All right. I used to do that when I was 14. And yeah, the games I made were simple as shit, but it was a start. You start somewhere, but you have to put in the work, and that's the issue. That's why it's not like, oh, you can't get carried to the top. You have to do something. You go to the top by doing, not by feeling or not by whining.
And that actually kind of feeds into what I think is actually a bigger problem in general at large. And I'm not gonna just outright condemn laziness, because I can be pretty lazy too.
Sure.
But the thing is, the old saying, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself.
Do it yourself.
That is still really true.
Yes.
Because not even just that, but there are a lot of people that seem to want to, almost like those people that you knew in a math class that like tried to study the night before and were fucking around the entire semester.
Yep.
And then then when it came crunch time, they totally got owned.
Yep.
And nobody was surprised by this.
They didn't put in the work.
No, they didn't, and it shows, because, I'll give you an example, since we're talking about this, and we're talking about math. When I had this one math class a long time ago, there was a thing where these two girls came in after class and basically asked, can we stop in for tutoring? And he looked at them and he said, sure. Afterwards, and they left, and I was still collecting my things, And I'll never forget this, because he looked at me directly at me and he goes, "Those two are so screwed."
Yep.
I'm wrong. I skipped a step. After they left, I asked him. I said, "Wow, they're coming in just now, the day before." And he's like, "Oh, they're screwed."
Yep.
He was somebody that never bullshitted anybody. I always liked that about him. He was one of those math professors that, I don't want to say he was strict, but he didn't take bullshit. And I always respected him for that, because anytime you failed, it was all on you. Always.
Exactly.
It always was, because he never tried to go the ridiculous route where he's cramming all kinds of trick questions on you or anything like that. It was just a matter of buckling down and doing it.
It's very fair. If you put in the work and you understand, then you will succeed. And it's the same thing with gaming. If you put in the work, here's the thing. And here's like the house is open. We built this house when we were gaming 20, 30, damn near 40 years ago. We built this house, but it is open to anyone. Anyone under the sun. You want to come in, we'll give you a key. The door's open. Let's all play games, because that's the thing. We all love video games, and that's what connects all of us. But don't
take it outside if you need to smoke.
Yeah, exactly. Take it outside if you need to smoke. Don't come into the house and try to change the way the house rules work. You can't whine and be carried to the top. You have to. This is a meritocracy. You have to actually do stuff to succeed here. Last thing I want to talk about, sort of, because both of us saw this whole thing unfold, and
I will say it was entertaining. It was entertaining.
It's entertaining, and it's very, very enlightening. It's fantastic. I've never seen something like this happen, and it's great. It's great. But here's one thing I want to talk about. So NTR Radio is normally an anime podcast. We normally don't focus on gaming this much, but because this is sort of an issue we've had in the anime community, where the top level, like the priest class of the anime fandom, the people who've installed themselves as the nobility,
and some of these,
kind of look down on the people who aren't in that area, and they have this disdain for them, and some at times outright insult them. Same thing happened to gaming, and that's what spurred this whole thing on.
This is certainly a smaller. It's almost like a microcosm of it.
Yeah.
Because you see the same patterns. The same type of people have installed themselves. A lot of them who have no real background, even in anime, so much as they do like film or something like that.
Exactly.
Which, to be fair, I mean, yeah, you'll gain valuable, things, skills about, camera work and things like that, I'm sure. But at the same time, their behavior is anything but professional.
Absolutely unprofessional.
I mean, this is stuff, if you pulled it, in a major news corp, you'd be gone.
You'd be out on your ass.
Like if you worked for MSNBC or the BBC or Fox or something like that, and you pulled some of this shit, your ass would be gone.
You'd be done. And we're seeing the same patterns where people are talking about stuff that isn't related to the show, all this stuff about sexism, and this show has gun culture in it, so that's why it's bad, on all this various stuff, and this is the same thing. So I'm wondering if the anime fandom can learn a bit from the Gamergate thing.
Yeah, I honestly thought this would happen there first, to be honest with you.
Same thing, actually.
I honestly thought what we're seeing now would actually happen, in the anime community first.
And sort of, we're seeing kind of a build-up.
It probably is gonna happen, but like this, it needs a catalyst.
Yeah. There
will be
something to happen, and it'll happen.
It'll happen. We've already seen a couple things that I'm surprised didn't set people off more than they did.
Right.
A good example is would have been the simulcast thing.
Yeah, I remember that one.
I thought that, and the way they tried to cover that up.
Yep.
I thought that would have caused more. I guess they were more successful in quelling it, though.
Yeah, that should have been a lot bigger than it was.
And another thing is how is it appropriate for these people that are I can't fucking talk.
Reporting. Thank
you. On anime news and this stuff, to sit there and basically just point and say, "Hey, this is a fat fuck in a fedora." To somebody who's interested in buying the material.
Exactly.
Where, how is that yeah, if you were just some random blogger, okay, I mean, you know, it'd be an asshole thing to do, but you wouldn't have the responsibility of journalistic ethics or anything
Yeah,
behind you.
exactly.
So, you know, I don't know. I mean, I've seen a lot of changes, and in recent times, just in the
Oh
last
yeah.
couple of years, as far as anime goes.
The negativity is certainly on its way out.
You're seeing a lot of pushback, and finally,
Yeah, it's about
uh,
damn time.
you know, like no one should feel like they've done something wrong because of the media they enjoy.
Exactly, and that's really what it comes down to. Is a
Like,
lot of these people genuinely think you should feel bad if you like certain works of media.
and you know,
Or if you identify as a certain thing, because that's another thing that's happening in the anime communities. A lot of people who just outright against identifying as an anime fan because they think that's toxic. That makes you toxic, identifying as an anime fan.
right. Well, and since you said it, I don't know. I think more toxic behavior than anything else is again said the stuff I said before, but also this idea that the people who like the stuff that are kind of getting dogpiled on here, that they're not critical thinkers, or they don't, you know,
They're lesser.
somehow
They're below these people.
they have no discerning, you know, tastes or anything
Exactly.
like that. And it's bullshit. It totally is. First off, very few people just consume media and, you know, have like no opinion about it.
Exactly.
I mean, even if they don't like make a big deal out of it, they usually, if pressed, they have an opinion about it. I mean, you know, and occasionally on here on NTR Radio, we, well, did that sound a little too silly?
No, go on.
Here on NTR Radio, we thank you for your contributions. But no, we occasionally poke fun and like, you know, think things suck and stuff. Everybody does. But the thing is, we don't necessarily think they're bad people though. Like if somebody likes the Tekken movie, I'll think that's ridiculous, but I don't think they're a bad person.
Yeah, I'm not gonna hate on their character for it.
And I'm certainly
that's ridiculous.
not. And I'm certainly not going to say they're involved in criminal behavior somehow.
But for these people are allowed to call other people pedophiles based on the media they like, based on liking the wrong anime.
It's weird that has become a buzzword.
Yeah.
How fucked up is that?
That should outrage every single one of you.
Like that's not a word you just throw around.
Don't throw that word around like that.
You know, I mean, unless you want it to be deprived of any real meaning. You know, I mean,
this is the entire thing. I can't go on the ANN forum right now and speak out against. Oh, I don't think that this XYZ political stance is appropriate in this review of this cartoon. But it's a-okay to shit on anime fans in a review.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So, and some of the things said are just, you know, are really outrageous.
Yeah.
In some cases, to the point where you know they're just saying it to get a rise out of somebody. But in other times, it's clearly just a pointed dick kind of way of doing things.
Yeah, to a certain, I don't even think that they're saying it to get a rise out of people. These people genuinely think that they have more discerning tastes and therefore they're superior fans to these other people.
I mean,
This isn't even this isn't even. Oh, I don't like this person. I don't like his anime, so I'm gonna kind of jab at him. No, I don't like this person. I don't like his anime. I think he's. I
I think
think
he should
he's
be
lesser than
homeless.
me.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. I think he should be
locked in
persecuted
a mental
because of the
institution.
anime he watches. And that's just I can't stand for that. And
I mean,
that's the same thing I can't stand in gaming. You're a misogynist because you play game X, Y, or Z. No, I'm not. First of all, second of all, how dare you make a personal value judgment on me based on the media I enjoy? And really, it's whether or not what game I play, whether or not I play, is none of anyone's business but mine and the people I choose to share it with. And when people come in and start trying to make it into a value judgment of someone's character, that's I don't even know how to describe that. That's alien to me. I can't understand that.
I wonder if it's just some kind of thing that's bred in certain aspects of like academia or something. You know what I mean?
Maybe, but I
mean, you would think somebody like in, I don't know, journalism or even, or any kind of, English major or anything like that would, be above that kind of behavior.
yeah, and that's why I think it's something that's really really popular, really easy to get on board with, and as long as you have the correct stances on things, as long as you like Cowboy Bebop and don't like Strike Wishes, as long as you're on board with, as long as you don't like as long as you like this, I don't know, Fez or Gone Home or whatever, and you don't like Call of Duty, then you're safe. You're in. You're with the in crowd there. You're part of that clique, and that's I think that's a big thing. Is that this clique mentality where you have a lot of these people who all share the same worldviews, who all share the same views on anime, all share the same views on video games, and they all come into these big structures, start trying to run shit, start looking down upon the people below them, below the people who aren't in these structures, who have different tastes, and fancy themselves above those people. And it's I don't know if it's just they feel like they need to cut other people down to bring themselves up or whatever it is, but it's something that I've never been able to quite comprehend.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm trying to think of. I had this one specific event of sorts that I was going to bring up, and I totally lost it because I was so enthralled, kind of what you were saying there.
I don't know if it's something. I don't know if like people like you and me and all the rest of the people in Gamergate are special, and there's a lot of people in Gamergate, so I'm thinking that's not the case. But there are a subset of us that enjoy having an actual discussion and not being hated online. And it's like it here in real-time message from Cube the Third of Otaku Midnight. A friend of mine who is into the social justice thing called people who aren't into Gone Home homophobes.
Like, what in the fuck?
I can't comprehend that. That's alien to me. I can't get it. Don't get it.
Like, okay, first off, if you don't like, I don't know, product X here, XYZ, we're call you these, like, really rather nasty slurs, actually.
All ridiculous things that really have no place in that kind of conversation.
it's almost like, well, what can I say? What can I call you that's not like, a lowbrow foul word, but has a negative connotation to it.
Exactly, and we'll get other people to kind of shrink away from you because they don't like that kind of person.
Right.
And homophobe is one of those.
Yeah, or sexist, or misogynist, or bigot.
Exactly.
And you can call anybody these things.
How can I defame this person's character for either not liking something I like or liking something I don't like? Or even for carrying themselves in a way that's not harmful to anyone else, but I just don't like it. Or holding opinions on things that I don't agree with. So they don't agree with me, and for some reason or another, I can't fathom the idea of holding a conversation with these people and figuring out their perspective and sharing my perspective and learning stuff from each other. Can't fathom that idea, so I'm just going to defame their character because I want to be on top of this person. This person, they're different. They have different thoughts than I do, so they must be below me. I can't understand that. I can't understand what kind of mindset spawns that sickening line of thought that because someone's viewpoint is different, they have to be inferior. We all, put this down, we all form our own viewpoints and our own worldviews based on the life experiences we've had throughout our lives. That's universal. And if I had a different life experience than someone else, I'm going to form a different viewpoint from them. These people want everyone to have their own view, their viewpoints, regardless of what they went through in their lives, regardless of what differences they grew up with, regardless of any of that. They don't care. If you think differently from these people, you are inferior. And that's the problem. That's the problem in anime right now. That's the problem in gaming right now. We have these people who have installed themselves as the nobility class who hold this mindset.
And it's very obvious they're trying to do kind of a Reaganomics trickle-down effect type thing.
Absolutely.
Which,
And it's especially damaging because these are the kinds of people who are they're like the doormen of these communities. Like the big high up anime people, when someone gets into anime, they're who they're gonna go to. And that's damaging. That's very damaging. When the people that the newbies are gonna go to get their information and to learn about this new thing they're so into and they're pumped about and they're enthusiastic, when that's who they're gonna go to, that's scary. When the newbies, when all the people who are pumped about gaming and they're going to Kotaku, that's scary.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, since we're already waist deep into these fandoms, or even further, if you like, neck, if you like, in some cases, but we didn't have these things. When we came into them, there were still barriers of entry, of course.
Certainly.
But those are ones you overcome on your own.
Yep. We built this house.
We built this city.
This is our house. Anyone is welcome to come in, but please don't come in our house and bitch that the drapes are red.
I mean, yeah. In anime, it seems, I don't know, it seems a lot more, maybe it's because of the kind of the smaller nature of it, but it seems like people like wonder why you take everything so personally. You called him a pedophile. What the fuck, dude? It's like somebody accusing you of murder or something like that. You're like, well, what do you? And not even joking about
I'm
it.
gonna take personally. I've taken lesser things personally. That friggin' this article. Oh, we need to start listening to people less privileged. That I take personally, because the implication is that we don't, and here I am.
Yeah. So, these are the same type of people. I'm sure we'll see something similar.
Oh yeah.
I think it'll be different. I think it'll even play out probably differently too.
It'll probably play out differently, just because the difference is sort of the nature of the fandom.
Right.
But I think we're on the way to something similar in the anime community getting good.
I'm okay with this. A lot of people, I know I've had this conversation with somebody before, and they pointed out that, if these people go, it might bring down the whole structure. I said, well, maybe it needs to go down.
Maybe the structure needs to come down.
I'd
100% be okay with rebuilding. We can build a new house.
That joke about or not joke, but that what the hell is that? Lost my train of thought. But there was this clip that only it was kind of akin to to create anything you usually have to destroy what was there previously. It is something. Shit, I'm trying. I wish I could find it.
Or how about this End of Evangelion quote? The fate of destruction is also the joy of rebirth.
There you go. Oh yeah, from Keel, right? Wasn't that a name?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, he's the head Sele guy.
Yeah.
Theologically, it's kind of hinted that he might be the wandering Jew of biblical fame. That that can't die until Armageddon.
But that if we have to rebuild from scratch, if we have to build the structure again, we will. And I think Gamergate's poised to do the same thing if that's what needs to happen.
Oh, certainly. The clip that the Internet Aristocrat used from the movie A Law-Abiding Citizen could not have been better chose. Where it says, he's going to bring the whole rotten, corrupt structure down on your heads, of the temple on your heads. It's going to be fucking biblical. Yeah, that's rather on point.
Yeah.
Or prophetic, however you want to say it. I don't know if he thought. I don't know if he knew it was going to happen as quick and as immediate as it has. From when he posted that.
I don't know. I don't think anybody could have predicted the scope of this, just the sheer scale of what's going on right now.
Would you think of this if you were looking at it like this is a timeline? I mean, like a gaming timeline.
Well,
you had like on a board, would you think of this as like a schism?
Yes. I think this will go down as maybe not a real major thing in gaming history, like maybe not like Doom was major thing in gaming history, but I think this will go down as something that really happened. It will be a bullet point on the timeline.
Certainly a footnote, if nothing else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like if you see those little tree diagrams, that are moving sideways, with the little branches, like, and it has like the dates, Yeah,
this will be somewhere on there.
Oh yeah, and what's weird is if you look at it, it's the actual gamers versus the press.
Yeah.
And that's just weird to me.
And this is like the press.
I mean, it's not.
Isn't the press supposed to be on the people's side? Isn't that the purpose of the press?
Yeah, I mean, equivalent to back in the day fighting against GamePro or
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but that's kind of what it really
exactly
is.
what's going on.
The gamers versus the press, and the thing is if you see the things they've been saying and doing, it's not surprising to me.
No.
I mean, it's weird, but it's not surprising. I mean, you can only take so much shit.
Really, yeah.
Everybody has a tipping point.
Everybody's got their limit.
What do they
Once
call
you reach the limit, all bets are off.
It's like the PSI thing,
Yeah.
It's like a red tag,
Pressure builds. Something's gonna burst.
No, yeah. It's not just gonna disappear.
No. This is past the point where it can just disappear.
No, I mean, if you've seen any, I've seen stories far less even important than this go on longer and kind of be a nagging pain in people's ass.
Oh yeah.
But this, and the more information comes out, the more fucked up it is.
Yeah.
It's what I said. We're really going down the rabbit hole here. But how far does it really go?
I mean, we'll see.
I mean, within 3 days we might be commenting on this very, thing again. I'm not sure we'll be recording it, but I'm sure more information will be out there, though.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna have to cue me in on this, but is PAX still going on?
I believe so. I think that runs till Monday.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah. I think all the post-PAX stuff, I think that's going to be interesting to see how this movement has affected PAX.
Oh, yeah,
and I
certainly.
think it'll be interesting to see subsequent PAXs.
Oh, yeah.
After and perhaps during this movement's continuation.
That's the funny thing is I keep hearing from the people we're talking about, you need to police your fandom. And it's like, we are. That's why we're throwing you out.
Exactly. They talk about policing the fandom, but they don't anticipate that they're the ones who need to be policed.
Just sprinkle some crack on them. Let's get out of here.
In any case, that's the show. For those of you who came in from the Gamergate hashtag, this show is NTR Radio. It's a bi-weekly anime podcast that runs on She's Lost Control Media. You can find it at she'slostcontrol.net/podcast. If you're into anime, I highly recommend our own podcast to you.
Certainly. Also, if you just came in during this segment, we actually do have another podcaster, usually.
Yeah, we're usually a three-man show. Our third gentleman isn't really up on the whole Gamergate thing, so he opted out.
Right, understandably so, because he would have just been sitting there, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Exactly.
So we thought we'd just throw that back and forth. We purposefully didn't really use any names, or we tried not to. Certainly not any real names, except for the article.
Yeah.
The developer in question, we figure that's not really important to reveal that information because ultimately it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Number one, everyone already knows. Number two, at this point, it doesn't matter. That individual
that is anecdotal shit.
That individual is a footnote at this point. In any case, the email address, if you want to email into the show, is ntrradio@gmail.com. The website is she'slostcontrol.net/podcast. she'slostcontrol.net/articles is where you can find the She's Lost Control Media blog. That's what I run. You can find my response article to Devin Wilson's A Guide to Ending Gamers there. It's entitled Gamers Aren't Dead, a response to a guide to ending gamers. I'm Time Enforcer Anubis.
And I'm Chaos.
And even though the entire lid gets blown off the gamer sphere every time we say it, this is NTR Radio.
You want fries with that?
Alright, give me a second here.